Hello besties and welcome back. I am so excited for this video. We are going to be tier ranking all of the books I have read so far in 2024. So the first book I read in January to the end of June. Let's hop right in because I feel like this is going to be kind of challenging because I'm too indecisive. Now we're about to get started. So first I'm going to go through the categories a little bit. So first up on the top we have new all-time favorite. This is a book that I will think about for the rest of my life. I loved it so much. Just a favorite, 5 stars plus, all of that type of thing. Loved it. Can't say enough good things. You'll probably never hear me shut up about these. So good. That's kind of just below that, like books that I still love and think about frequently but just didn't quite make the all-time favorite category, or just books I found really enjoyable. We have pretty good, like maybe like a 3 to 4 star range. Still books I would recommend and enjoyed, but just not books I may think about all the time, or they may have had some flaws. Meh. These are like 3 2-star books that were still enjoyable and I had a fun time while reading, but I don't really look back on, or they didn't really stick with me, or again there was just some things that I didn't necessarily love about the books that kind of impacted my rating. But with this one, like the things that I may not have loved about it may not have impacted my rating as much. I Forgot About You, pretty self-explanatory. I forgot I read this, or I didn't care to remember. Just books that I don't think about ever or forgot I even read. Yikes, these are the books that I didn't really enjoy or that just had so many flaws I couldn't see past them. Books I didn't enjoy at all, really. Books that I will never think about again. Books that I would unhaul, or maybe books I should have DNF'd. That is the yikes category. Let's get rolling because I got a lot of books to chat about. Okay y'all, I have just about 40 books that I have read so far for this first half, so let's get to your ranking. First book I finished this year was Imagine Me by Tahara Mafi, the last like full book in the Shatter Me series, but I was reading this book throughout 2023 as well, so it did take me such a long time to get into, and I tried audiobook, ebook, physically everything, and nothing was working. I think I'm gonna put it in meh, because at the end I did enjoy it, but it took me 2/3 of the book to get to that point. Actually, I don't know, because like I didn't forget about it, but I did end up enjoying it a little bit, you know? So I think it's meh. Okay, and then next I read Dracora by Lynette Nani. This is, I think, the third book in Lynette Nani's other series. I can't remember what the series is called, I'm sorry. But this one I really enjoyed, so I think it's gonna go in pretty good because I've been really loving this series. It's definitely kind of more like slow paced and kind of character driven, but I found myself to like the characters in this series, so it's been going good for me. I'm liking it, and I really like how she's setting up the series because every book is like a different year in their lives, and I'm really liking that, and there's kind of something new that gets discovered each book / year. Crescent City, I might just do all 3 of them now. I'm gonna put Crescent City 1. Honestly, I'm putting the first 2 I absolutely loved so much. I really enjoyed the first one, honestly. I felt like it just set up the series really good, and I really enjoyed the like murder mystery aspect that was going on and all of the other characters. Same with the second one. It was so good to me. I did get something spoiled for me, so that kind of sucks because if it wouldn't have been spoiled, I would have probably never shut up about this book, but I did get it spoiled, so I kind of was a little disappointed with that. The third book, it kind of fell flat for me. I'm not gonna lie, like I had hyped it up in my head so much, and I think I might have binged this in 1 day or 2 days. That's crazy. There is a reading vlog if you want, but it did kind of let me down. I just wanted more of certain parts of it. It felt kind of drawn out, and then the ending went too fast. I was like, what are you even doing? This is like too fast paced, Sarah. Like, I love you, but oh my god, when I was like taking these pictures and uploading them, I'm like, I read that? What was that book even about? I honestly might put this in yikes because 1, I completely forgot about this book, so it could go in I Forgot About You, but I feel like it might be more of a yikes book because I really didn't enjoy it that much. I didn't love the characters, and I thought that a lot of kind of like the trope things that Lynn Painter threw in, or just that happened, I just found it kind of really cringy, and I didn't really enjoy this book, honestly. But I have enjoyed all of Lynn Painter's other books, but this one really did not hit for me, and I just wanted so much more from the guy in this book. Like, I feel like he definitely had more to him, but we just didn't get to see it. So I was kind of disappointed by that. Cinder, I'm gonna do the first two in this one. Cinder, I think I'm gonna put in So Good and Scarlet Pretty Good. I've been really enjoying this series. I actually think about it quite frequently about continuing it. Cinder, I absolutely loved that book. It was just such a good start to the series, and I feel like it had actually like a lot of depth behind it, even though it was like, you know, like fantasy, cyborg, Cinderella, whatever. Like with the characters, I feel like they had a lot of depth, and I really enjoyed Cinder, the main guy, and some side characters, and just the storyline. And I thought it was so interesting reading about her being a mechanic and a cyborg. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. Scarlet was still really good, but this one I don't really remember much of, honestly, and I just didn't love it as much. The story definitely takes a turn with this one, and I did like that. I didn't love it as much, I feel. Still a great book. I can't wait to continue the series. I'm just waiting for my hold to come through on Libby. Bride, I'm gonna put this in meh. I feel like this happens to me a lot when I read romance books. I like read them and finish them, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was incredible. But I haven't thought about this book since, and I don't know. I feel like some parts of it were kind of weird. I did enjoy kind of some mystery aspects that it had, but other than that, I don't think about this book ever. I think it definitely deserves this category because for Ali Hazelwood's like first fantasy book, or what I'm assuming is her first fantasy book, it was actually really developed with the fantasy aspects, and I was really impressed by that. Oh my gosh, you guys know where this is going. Magnolia Parks, Into the Dark. I love this book. This one was such a fun time to read. Well, actually, I wouldn't say fun because it was really emotional. Like, it was kind of harder to read. Like, it wasn't like light and fluffy by any means, but I did really enjoy it because I'm just so invested into these characters at this point, and I loved seeing how Magnolia and BJ's story kind of wrapped up. Like, obviously we're still gonna get hints of them in the next Daisy books, but just like their POVs wrapped up was so good, and I loved all of their character development. Like, just thinking back from the first Magnolia book to this one, literally crazy. I loved them so much, and I really enjoyed this story. Again, no plot, just vibes basically, but there is a lot that goes on in this story still that they have to work through, and I really enjoyed how Jessa portrayed them working through their issues and just stuff that happened to them. And I need a Daisy book right now. Jessa, get writing because seeing the other characters, just I love them so much. The Perfect Marriage, I'm gonna put this in meh. So it started off kind of just like a murder mystery. Like, first 2/3 of it were like murder mystery, and I was just eating it up, like absolutely loving how it was going in the storyline. I knew that it was like a thriller versus a mystery though, so I did have some theories in my head. My theory was right because it's just like kind of thriller, like I've seen it before, basically is what I'm saying. I was really enjoying how it was like murder mystery, twisty turny that way, but then the end, I just feel like the twist, the reveal that happened was just like kind of out of pocket. I don't know, like it was still good, but I just feel like I was so entertained with the murder mystery, I just wanted to keep with that trend, not like the whole twisty turny thing. It did kind of fall off at the end for me, and I was just like, what is even going on? Like, I just feel like it happened so quickly, and the author could have definitely drug it out and explained it better. And also the timeline kind of jumped around in the end, and I was like, whoa, reverse, because I need more about that. Next book we have The Fake Out. I'm putting this one in pretty good. I really enjoyed both of her books that I've read by her. Behind the Net was the other one. I really enjoyed the guy in this book. He is such an acts of service king and like gift giving, and he was just so thoughtful towards the girl, and I just love sports romances. I thought it was adorable, and I don't really got much to say. Like, I don't think about this book that often, but when I do, it's just like, ah, that was cute. I loved that. I'd probably reread this, honestly, because it was just so cute. I loved it. Yours truly. Okay, this is like borderline new all-time favorites, but I feel like I haven't thought about it enough since reading it to be in that category. Like, I loved the book so much, but I just don't think about it as much as I thought I would. So that's why it's gonna stay in So Good. Abby Jimenez is probably one of my favorite authors now, and I've only read 2 of her books. Like, that is crazy because she just adds so much depth to her characters, the plot, the side characters, all of it, and her books are just so like incredibly done. They're perfect. Like, I couldn't think of one flaw with her books at all. I loved their relationship. I loved the plot in this. I loved their character development, their growth, and the side plot, the side characters were so fun as well. Well, not like fun, but like, you know, fun to read about. And I loved it. It was a great, amazing time. No Exit. I'm gonna put this in pretty good. I think this is my first Taylor Adams book and I really enjoyed it. The one thing with this one is some of the twists, like when you get towards the end of the book, it was just like twist after twist after twist. I'm like, these people cannot catch a break. I was just getting a little like, okay, calm down a bit, just let stuff happen for a bit. But I really enjoyed this thriller. This might be, I haven't read many thrillers, but this is definitely one of my favorites that I've read this year. It basically follows a group of people who are stuck in a rest area during like a massive snowstorm. Like this is like feet of snow we're talking. Our main girl, she goes outside to try and get cell service and she sees a little girl, or like her hand, in the back of someone's van. So she has to figure out whose car it is and try and, you know, deal with that while also trying to not die in the snow. So I really enjoyed this one because it's unlike anything I've ever heard of or like read, and it did its job. It thrilled, it scared. I'm never stopping at a rest area again. I genuinely don't know if I could do it. Like after reading this, no. Especially if it's like raining or snowing, no way. But I really enjoyed it. I did enjoy how it wrapped up. It was pretty good. The ending, it kind of confused me a little bit though. It was so twisty, and this book was definitely thrilling and so addicting I couldn't stop reading it. Like this is a thriller. A lot of times I feel like The Perfect Marriage and some more I'll get to, they weren't super like scary, but this one was like scary a little bit. Happily Never After. This has gotta go in I Forgot About You, because I forgot about you. I just remember enjoying it while I was reading it, but after I finished it, it completely left my brain. I liked the idea of it, how they went and crashed weddings together, but other than that, their relationship was kind of physical, if I remember correctly, and just not very deep. And I feel like, I don't know, the characters maybe weren't that developed. Like I like when characters have a lot of depth to them and stuff going on in their lives and just are well fleshed out, kind of like Abby Jimenez. But I feel like these, it was just more about the physical stuff and the weddings, which was still fun, but I like a more soulmate connection. The Bodyguard. I'm gonna put this in pretty good. I really enjoyed this book. This was my first Catherine Center book. I thought this was just such a fun, sweet time. I loved how the girl was a bodyguard in this. I loved reading about that aspect of it, her job and her co-workers. I thought that was really, really good. That was probably my favorite part, like reading about her job and stuff like that, because I've just always been interested in not necessarily being a bodyguard, but like, you know, protection stuff. I really enjoyed it. I liked how you got the he's a celebrity but also the kind of small town aspect. I loved that, and I loved how there was also like side plots going on with both of the characters and stuff that they had to figure out and how they came together in the end. I thought it was so sweet. Some parts of this definitely surprised me because I was like shook a little bit. This book I'm gonna put in I Forgot About You. I went into this book with really high expectations because I just heard everyone who read it have really good things to say, and I feel like they had similar opinions to me. So I really was expecting to love this book, but I just didn't like care at all about it. I found it kind of boring, and I just couldn't connect or really stay engaged in this book at all. And this is truly the definition of this category. I think I was doing my reading journal or something, or a wrap up, and I completely forgot about this book. I loved the idea of it, but it just, I don't know what made it not hit for me. This guy took half her soul, so she's like living life with half a soul. I mean, she just has like half of her emotions. Yeah, that's all I remember. There were some cute aspects about this, but I forgot. The reappearance of Rachel Price. This is going in so good. This one I absolutely loved. It was so thrilling to me. Not necessarily like thrilling, but like addicting and fast-paced to me. I've heard some people say it's slow, but personally I loved it and couldn't put it down. I really enjoyed this type of storyline, and I love Holly Jackson's writing so much and how she tells a story. The one thing with this book that kind of made me mad was the main girl. She really annoyed me, and some of the things she said, I'm like, how could you even say that? Like, actually. So that kind of made me annoyed and a little upset, but other than that, I really enjoyed it. I loved just how Holly Jackson set up the story and told it, and just everything that happened was just so intriguing to me, and I needed to know more, so I binged this book. And then there's a rule book. I might put this in yikes. Some of the books, like, I just can't explain why I didn't enjoy it so much, but I just didn't enjoy it. This one, I loved the cheat sheet, so I really thought I'd love this one, but I just didn't. I don't know really what it was, but there was one part of it that was like, why is this even happening? Like, this is so weird. But I just couldn't connect to the characters at all. That was the rule book. I was really surprised though, because I loved the cheat sheet. Like, I think I originally gave it 5 stars, which I don't think it'd be 5 stars now, but The Right Move. This is going in so good because I love this series so much. I did skip the first book though, so yeah, but the second and third, I'm so excited for the fourth one. I just love sports romances. This one, for the first part of it, I was convinced it was hockey. Like, I just could not get it in my brain that it was basketball. Like, the little chapters had a basketball on top and I was still like, no, it's hockey. Like, no, it's basketball, honey. I really enjoyed the characters. At first, I had a hard time connecting with the girl in this, Indy, but I did end up loving her because how could I not? And I did love the guy, Ryan Shea. He's amazing. I love him, and I love them together. I feel like they're great, and I loved how the story wrapped up. It is so sweet. I loved everything about this story because I feel like with her books, there is a lot of depth to the characters as well, and they do have a lot to work through on their own, and I love watching them do that. The Storied Life of AJ Fikry. I'm gonna put this in so good as well. I loved this book so much. I feel like I don't read fiction, literary fiction, contemporary fiction, whatever books enough because I just feel like they're just so deep and emotional and you can really just fall into the story, especially this one. At first I started off not really hooked, not really loving our main character AJ, but at the end of the book I was sobbing. I was so invested with the story and him and the other characters. At the end of the book I loved it so much. This just kind of follows AJ as he's kind of like a grumpy bookstore owner, and one day his like most valuable book he has gets stolen from his personal apartment, and then from there his life just kind of takes a turn, and I loved following him going from like a grumpy guy to how he developed and how he ended up being at the end. It was so good to see. I loved it so much, and it just really connected with the characters, and I loved the timeline of this. You got the span over so many years, but it didn't feel rushed at all. Funny story. This is going right next to AJ Fikry. See, I loved it and I gave it 5 stars, but I don't know if it's quite the all-time fave category because I don't really think about this one as much as I do Beach Read, for example. Beach Read is in that category, but I don't think about this one as much. But I still loved it. Any romance that has depth, character development, they have something going on in their life that needs remedied, sign me up. I will rate it 5 stars. I loved their connection and I really enjoyed the side characters and the side plots. I feel like this one especially, the side plots were so good. I loved them so much, and I just feel like for me, I just connect to books and romances so much more when the main focus isn't just them fake dating or whatever, which I still love, but I just feel like that's what I used to like, and now I've kind of switched to liking the more emotional, like character growthy, they have to do this and that books more. So I really enjoyed this one, and I thought it was funny. It was still a funny story. Emily Henry can just make you feel all emotions. She can make you feel happy, sad, laughter, everything, and I loved how she did that in this one. This book, okay, we kind of have beef, me and Lightlark. So this is another book that I've been reading since end of 2023, start of 2024. It just took me so long to get into. Like, this is another one I talked about, like Imagine Me. I tried every possible format of this book to get into it. Audiobook, digital, physical, everything. And I finally pushed through enough to getting to a point like 2/3 of the way into the book where I was actually getting invested and actually started to care and be intrigued with what happened. I ended up still not absolutely loving the book because how could I love it when the first 2/3 were just boring and I couldn't get into at all. But the ending did pick up and it was really interesting. I just feel like it's kind of boring. Like, it's the same thing over and over again, and what's said on the back of the book like doesn't really even happen a lot. Like, it's not super prevalent, but I did end up enjoying it. I am intrigued about the second one, but also I might just Google the ending. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder! I love this book. Ooh, I'm kind of between So Good and new all-time fave. Maybe I'll put it at the top of So Good. It is a new favorite, but maybe not to the level these are. I loved this book so much. This was a book that has been on my shelf for a very long time, and I'm so glad I finally read it. I feel like I picked it up at the perfect time, 2-3 years later after owning it, but I just enjoyed it so much, and to me, it was perfection. I love more like murder mystery books or like solving a mystery rather than like scary thriller, unless we're talking No Exit by Taylor Adams, because that's Slade. But yeah, usually I like a more murder mystery mystery book. And this one, I loved Holly Jackson's writing. I loved just how the book was set up too. Like, since Pip is doing her senior project on it, you get interviews, kind of just like document styles in the books, like maps, stuff like that. And I really enjoyed that. I think it added so much to the book. I enjoyed Pip, Ravi, all of the other characters, and I thought it was so well done. And Holly Jackson just does it in a way where you have no clue what's going on. Like, I couldn't have ever guessed the twist in either of her books I read this year so far. Props to Miss Holly Jackson on that. Guys, this is my favorite book of the year. I'm calling it right now. I genuinely do not know if anything can top this book. It was so good to me. I think about this book daily now. It's at that point of my obsession. I'm already gonna reread it next week, and I just read it for the first time a month ago because that is how much I loved it. Abby Jimenez genuinely is my queen. I love her so much. I just found myself so connected to these characters because of how well Abby Jimenez creates her characters. They just have so much depth and just so much going on that you can't help but love them. And I really enjoyed how these characters connected. I thought it was super funny and cute. It was kind of like slightly cringy. I'm like, what are the odds? Like, this is so not real life, but that made it so much more fun though, because it was like just a funny aspect. And I really enjoyed how she did the whole third act breakup in this book. And I just feel like throughout the whole book, the characters grew so much as people and together, and they both had so much going on in their lives that they had to work through, and I loved seeing them work through it and deal with that. I need to stop talking now or I'll never stop, but yeah, this book, probably my favorite of the year. Okay, Powerful, I'm gonna put this in so good. Maybe I'll put it in pretty good since it was just a novella, you know? I feel like this novella also made me fall more in love with Powerless, which I did really enjoy when I first read it, but I wasn't like as in love with it as other people are, but I still enjoyed it, and this book made me fall even more in love with the world. I absolutely love the character that this one follows, and I loved their story. It was very emotional and I loved it so much. It was such a good story for just a short novella. For Lauren Roberts to make such an impactful story in just such a short book is incredible. It was so sweet but so sad and so frustrating. It had all of the emotions, and it's crazy that she did that in just a short time. I love this character so much now, and I just loved getting more depth because like you see them in Powerless, but you don't see all of this until you read the novella, and the novella just added so much more to the story. The Good, the Bad, the Aunties, I'm gonna put it in meh. I've really enjoyed this whole series before, but I feel like this one was definitely my least favorite, and I just feel like it maybe was a little bit drug out. Like, this book did not need to happen at all, but I'm glad it did because I love following these characters so much. But this one was also very kind of dramatic, which like this whole series is, but this one definitely kind of was like, this is so far-fetched and things just keep piling up that it's like, oh my gosh. But I still loved it. I enjoyed these characters so much, and it's just such an addicting series because you can't stop reading, and I really loved this series so much, and I'm sad it's over. The Wedding Date, this one was so cute. I'm putting this in meh just simply because I don't really think about it that frequently, but I did love it when I was reading it. I really enjoyed how normally in like fake dating books, the thing you have to fake date to happens like at the end of the book, like they work their way up to that, but this one, it happened right kind of at the beginning-ish, and I enjoyed that because you got to see how their relationship progressed after that. I will say their relationship is really, really physical in this book, and that is something I don't seek out in a romance book. I love like a deep connection, kind of like some of the romances up here, and I just feel like we didn't get a lot of the characters' background info. Like there was some stuff briefly mentioned, but I feel like we definitely could have dug deeper into it. I do know that this series continues like with other interconnected books. I did read one, so maybe we get more in that, but I do feel like it was lacking a little bit of depth to the characters, you know, like what was going on with their family, why they do this, why are they this way, stuff like that. And it was just a little physical for me. I wasn't too much of a fan of that because, you know, I love the soulmate connection. People in me, oh my god. Do I seriously have to put this here? Yeah. I looked at that book, I'm like, I read that? I forgot I read this book and I recently read it. So I did still enjoy it, and like, it's Emily Henry, so you know the writing's gonna be good, you know the characters are gonna be funny and be enjoyable, but I just didn't really connect to this book. I didn't really care about their romance, and there were some parts of it that kind of cringed me out a bit, but it was still fun. I enjoyed it how it focused on them traveling and vacations a lot. I really enjoyed that. That's about all I got. I definitely forgot I read this. Well, we're kind of out of order here. Sorry. Believe me, I read this way sooner. The Royal Holiday. I'm gonna put this in yikes, but this is a hear me out one, and this is just me. Like, this is totally just me. It just kind of got to me that they were my parents' age. Like, I don't need to think about my parents doing some of that type of stuff, and that's kind of what this book just brought up to me. So it starts off, she goes to the United Kingdom for the Christmas season, and she meets him there. And I just felt like when she went to leave, like, they didn't really seem to care or like connect that much at first. Like, it almost was like they were just friends to me a little bit. I also wanted more of the royal aspect because I love royal, you know, things, but I feel like, I don't know, this book just really kind of fell flat for me because I just didn't really feel their connection. I did enjoy it, and I really liked seeing, so this is interconnected to The Wedding Date, so I did enjoy seeing some characters that were introduced in that, but it did confuse me a little bit because this is the first book, The Wedding Date, and this is the fourth one I read, so like I skipped around and I didn't really know they were in the same series until I picked up The Royal Holiday and was like, wait, these names seem familiar. So I would probably recommend reading them all in order because I did get a little confused, and I definitely think the names are more prevalent and interconnected than most series are. The ending was cute, but I just feel like they didn't really care about each other in the beginning. Like, when she had to go home, she just went home. There was no like resistance really between them. That kind of made me a little upset because I'm like, guys, you're literally falling in love and she just left and you don't care. Stalking, I always call it stalking. Guys, keep yelling at me. I can't get it out of my head. Hunting Prince Dracula. I'm gonna end up putting this one in meh because when I first finished it, I loved it and rated it like a 4-star, pretty good. But now I don't really think about it, honestly, and I don't remember much about it. Like, who was who, all of that, like what ended up happening. But I did really enjoy the vibes of it, and the series is just really good. And I really enjoy the timeline, or the time it's set in, and the setting of this. I did enjoy it, and I love the two main characters a lot. But I just don't think about this one a lot. I definitely will still continue the series. Okay, believe me, this I read early in the year. I don't know why it's down this far. These are a little out of order, but not terrible. I'm putting this in I Forgot About You. To me, the Shatter Me series isn't my favorite series. I still enjoyed it, but it's not my favorite series by any means. That's why it's going in there, because I do feel like it wrapped up in a good way. It might have been the novella was just like one day it was set in, but to me, it really kind of drug out. And I was just like, get to the point a little bit. But yeah, it was still cute, and I do like the characters a lot still, and I did want them to live happily ever after, so I really enjoyed how that wrapped up. Counterfeit. I just finished this one yesterday, or the day before. I think I'm gonna put it in meh, but also I feel like it could be in yikes. It kind of depends, like since I finished it so recently, it's hard to say, but this basically follows our main girl. I already forgot her name and I finished it yesterday or the day before. Her friend basically gets her involved in selling fake designer purses. So you follow them along on their adventure of basically committing like a crime. And it was really interesting to see from an outsider perspective, and kind of how the story is told was set up kind of interestingly. I listened to the audiobook completely, and I do kind of wish I had the physical copy, but like also I probably wouldn't have got to this if I read it physically. Like, I feel like with the audiobook and how the book was set up is a little confusing. Like, there were points where I wanted to like look down at the book and see what was going on because I was a little confused like with just the format of it. There gets to be when there's kind of contradicting things being said, so I kind of wish I would have had the physical book for that reason, like to be able to, you know, see what was going on, because eventually you end up getting two different POVs, and during that I did get kind of confused on who was talking. I'm just gonna put it in meh because I did not really care about the characters. Like, obviously they're committing crimes, so you're not like supposed to, but I just wasn't really invested in what happened to them, or even like the side characters who were like not committing crimes. I was just like, cool. When it finished, there was a few loose ends that I noticed, and just some characters I'm like, what happened to them? I need to know, but I don't know. So I did enjoy topic, what it was about, the selling fake bags. I mean, obviously it's fiction, but if this happens to this level in real life, it's crazy to hear about. And it was just really interesting, and it made me think in my brain about, you know, what would I do in this situation, or does this happen around me, all of that type of stuff. It was a thought-provoking read. I think it deserves to be in here, other than yikes. Okay, now this one's going in yikes. Not in like a bad way. I'm between these two because I did definitely forget about it. I think I'm gonna keep it in yikes and come to the conclusion that this author is not for me. I read Every Summer After, and this one skipped the second one she came out with because I heard just not good reviews, and she's just not for me. I feel like her characters I just cannot connect to at all. I do not care about them at all, and I just feel like, yeah, I just don't care at all, really. Like, it was still fun and the setting was cool, but I just didn't really care about the characters, and I did not think they had depth at all to me. Like, the guy's main thing about him was he does oyster competitions. Like, that's it. That's all we got about him, and I just need more than that. Like, I just love a deeper romance, and I feel like this one definitely was kind of more physical a little bit. Like, not super, but like still a little bit, to where I was like, you know? And there was like a little side thing going on. It ended up being really anticlimactic and just boring. I'm sorry. Malibu Rising. This is going in so good. Well, so good, I should say. I absolutely love this story. I have been putting it off for years at this point, and I'm so glad I finally read it because I loved it. It was so good to me. I loved following the Riva family and how they've grown, what's happened in their lives, and I thought it was so interesting how their lives spanned out. I loved it so much. I just felt so connected to the characters, and like I was just inside her head. And that's something Taylor Jenkins Reid does with all of her books in this like kind of celebrity series she has going on, how you just feel like they're real people and you know everything about them, and she can just make you connect to even the smallest side characters. Everyone had a background at her, like the party with tons of people. She had everyone thought out and everyone detailed. It was incredible to me. I thought the vibes of it, the setting were perfect for what happened, and I loved learning about the Riva siblings' lives and seeing their development and just how they grew as people. We gotta move to the top of the category. Definitely pick up Malibu Rising if you haven't yet. It definitely seems like it'll be like a boring book, but I promise you, once you start it, you'll be hooked because these characters are so fascinating to read about. This one I'm gonna put in, I Forgot About You. We have I can never say this title, hang on. The Betrothed. I have no clue. I don't even know. This is by Kira Kaus, the author of the selection, which I love the selection. I'm sorry, but this one just fell kind of flat for me. I went into this. I just picked it up on Libby because it didn't have a wait time. I was like, I just want something quick to listen to. It delivered. It was entertaining. I enjoyed it while I was listening. I just didn't really care about it. The main girl kind of annoyed me, and the romance in this was kind of weird. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it gave me whiplash a little bit, and it was way too fast-paced in my opinion. It was like, okay, this is weird. I do think I will read the second one though. I'm not sure if there is more than a sequel because of how it wrapped up. I do want to know what happens next, and I am intrigued to see just how it wraps up and what happens to the other characters and the main girl. The Pirate King. No, Daughter of the Pirate King. I'm gonna put this one in between these two categories. I think I'm gonna keep it in pretty good, but just know that it's like almost so good. Again, I picked it up on a whim because Libby had no wait time and I'd wanted to get to it for a while, and I really enjoyed this book. Before this, the only piratey book I read, To Kill a Kingdom, I just didn't really enjoy that book, but I didn't know if it was just like because it was like sirens, pirates, or if it was the story, the author, or how it took me like almost a year to finish. So going into this, I was a little hesitant. I'm like, do I like pirate books? What's the deal? But I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was really intriguing. At some points it did get a little slower and I was a little bit like, okay, let's like get going, like pick it up, something needs to happen. But I really enjoyed the main girl character, and the setting on the ship was cool. I ended up enjoying it, and there was lots going on kind of behind the scenes to set up for the second book, which I feel like is going to be so good. I'm really excited for that, and I really enjoy reading about badass main characters, so I loved that, and I can't wait for the second one. This book was great. I really recommend it. I just feel like the second one's gonna be so good. God, this is going in so good. I was sobbing, I was laughing, I was smiling, I was feeling all of the emotions with this book. I love the main guy in this. The main girl was super interesting as well. I didn't feel super like connected to her, but I really enjoyed reading about her and liked her as a character. There is a child in this book, which normally I don't love love, but this child was adorable. Oh my gosh, I loved him so much. He made the book so good. I will be reading her 4th book of this series the day it comes out. Like, that's how invested I am in this series. It is so good, hence the category. I feel like the main reason why I love sports romances so much is because the team aspect. I always find myself falling in love with the team that the guy is on in these books. Like the baseball team, I love them. They made the book in some points, especially in some parts. They did so good. Same with this one. I loved his teammates and his friends, especially in this whole book. They're interconnected, so you see like the Right Move characters and Caught Up and vice versa. And I love how they all come together, like all the characters throughout the series, because that just, like, I love it so much. That is one of my favorite parts of it. Like, they just have such good side characters in this whole series, and I loved it. The characters also were deep in these too, so you know I love that. Last book, I finished this literally like an hour ago, and it's going in Yikes. I did enjoy it a little bit, but it was supposed to be a thriller. I was not thrilled at all. It was boring, like, and nothing really happened, and all the reveals were just like, oh, okay, saw that coming, or don't care, you know? That kind of disappointed me because I feel like the synopsis of this book, how they live on this cliff by this house and this lady goes to the cliff and she jumps off. That just sounded so interesting to me because obviously you know there's more than that. It was like, okay, whatever, you know? It really kind of fell flat for me. Some parts of it I enjoyed and I was kind of invested, but it just felt kind of boring. This is the final chart. Oh my gosh, hi, it is clearly editing Caitlin. I completely did not end this video at all because in all honesty it was pre-filmed a bit because I was going on a trip the halfway point of the year and I thought I'd finish a book, but I didn't, so I didn't end it, but here I am to end it. If you like this, let me know, and let me know your top book of the first half of the year. I would love to read it. If you want more tier videos, let me know what I should rank. I do have tier ranking all my 2023 reads and all my 5-star reads, so go check out those and let me know some other suggestions. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.